For over 50 years, the world watched two piano legends dominate the music industry. Billy Joel and Elton John. Both played piano, both wrote massive hits, both sold out stadiums. But behind the scenes, there was tension that neither man would talk about publicly. The comparisons that drove Billy crazy, the jealousy he could not shake, the insecurity that made him feel like he would always be second best. For decades, Billy Joel refused to admit how he really felt about Elton John. The truth was too painful, too embarrassing, too raw. Now at 76 years old, Billy Joel is finally ready to tell the whole story. What he reveals about his complicated feelings toward Elton John will shock you. The rivalry that was not really a rivalry. The friendship that almost did not happen. The respect that took decades to earn. Keep watching, because what Billy finally confirms changes everything. Before we dive into video, please subscribe our channel. The beginning, two piano men on different paths. In 1970, Billy Joel was a struggling musician in New York, playing piano bars and trying to escape a bad record deal. His first album, Cold Spring Harbor, had been released, but due to a mastering error, it sounded terrible. Radio stations would not play it. Billy was broke and depressed. He felt like a failure. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic Ocean, a flamboyant British piano player named Elton John was exploding onto the music scene. His single Your Song became a worldwide hit. Elton was everything Billy was not: flashy, confident, successful. Billy first heard Elton John on the radio in 1971. In a 2008 interview with Howard Stern, Billy admitted that hearing Your Song made him feel both inspired and devastated. Inspired because the song was beautiful and proved that piano-based rock could work commercially. Devastated because someone else had done it first and done it better. Billy said he thought to himself, "This guy is going to be huge and I am going to be forgotten." By 1973, Billy had clawed his way back with the album Piano Man. The title track became his signature song. But even as Billy found success, he could not escape the comparisons to Elton John. Music critics constantly compared them. Two piano men, two singer-songwriters, two guys who did not fit the typical rock star mold. Billy hated the comparisons. In a 1994 interview with Rolling Stone magazine, Billy said being compared to Elton made him feel like he was always chasing someone, always second place. Elton John, meanwhile, seemed oblivious to any rivalry. In a 1975 interview, Elton praised Billy Joel, calling Piano Man a brilliant song. Elton said he loved Billy's voice and his honest songwriting. Billy read that interview and felt conflicted. Part of him appreciated the compliment. Part of him resented that Elton could afford to be generous. Elton was already on top. Billy was still climbing. They did not meet in person until 1976 at a music industry event in Los Angeles. Billy described the encounter in his 2014 biography. He said Elton walked up to him with a huge smile and said he was a big fan. Billy shook his hand and mumbled something polite. Inside, Billy was a mess of emotions. Jealousy, admiration, insecurity. He wanted to be Elton's friend, but also wanted to beat him. That internal conflict would define their relationship for years. The comparisons that drove Billy crazy. Throughout the late 1970s, Billy Joel released hit after hit. The Stranger in 1977 became one of the best-selling albums of the decade. Songs like Just the Way You Are and Scenes from an Italian Restaurant made Billy a superstar. But no matter how successful he became, the comparisons to Elton John continued. Every album review, every interview, every article, Billy Joel was compared to Elton John. Billy said in a 2010 interview with the New York Times that the comparisons felt unfair and lazy. He said critics acted like there could only be one successful piano player in rock music. Billy argued that he and Elton had completely different styles. Elton was theatrical and flamboyant. Billy was straightforward and blue-collar. Elton wrote with lyricist Bernie Taupin. Billy wrote his own lyrics. Elton wore outrageous costumes. Billy wore jeans and a leather jacket. But none of that mattered to the media. They both played piano, so they were the same. The breaking point came in 1978 when a major music magazine published a cover story titled Piano Man vs. Rocket Man. The article pitted Billy and Elton against each other in various categories. Who sold more albums? Who had bigger hits? Who was the better live performer? Billy was furious. In a 1998 interview, Billy said that article made him feel like a boxer being forced into a fight he did not want. He said it reduced his art to a competition. What made it worse was that Elton always seemed to be winning. Elton's albums sold slightly more. Elton's tour grossed slightly higher. Elton had slightly more #1 hits. Billy was phenomenally successful by any measure, but next to Elton, he felt inadequate. In a brutally honest 2013 interview with Q magazine, Billy admitted he became obsessed with beating Elton. He said he would check the charts every week. If Elton had a hit, Billy would work harder. If Elton sold out a venue, Billy would book a bigger one. It was exhausting and unhealthy. Billy's insecurity reached a peak during the recording of his 1980 album Glass Houses. Billy wanted to prove he could rock harder than Elton. He wanted to show the world that he was not just a balladeer. The album was aggressive and guitar-driven. It was successful, but Billy later admitted it was partly motivated by his need to differentiate himself from Elton John. In a 2007 interview, Billy said he was trying so hard not to be Elton that he almost forgot to be himself. The jealousy Billy could not shake. By the early 1980s, both Billy Joel and Elton John were among the biggest stars on the planet, but Billy still struggled with jealousy. In his 2014 biography, Billy made a shocking confession. He admitted that he was jealous of almost everything about Elton: his success, his confidence, his freedom. Billy said Elton seemed to enjoy fame in a way Billy never could. Billy was particularly jealous of Elton's relationship with his audience. Elton was openly gay at a time when that was career suicide for most artists. Elton wore crazy costumes and giant glasses. He was unapologetically himself. Audiences loved him for it. Billy, on the other hand, felt trapped by his image. He was the everyman, the guy next door. Billy said in a 2011 interview with Rolling Stone that he felt like he had to maintain that image even though it was not entirely true. He envied Elton's freedom to be weird and fabulous. Billy was also jealous of Elton's collaborative relationship with Bernie Taupin. Elton and Bernie had been writing partners since 1967. They had a system that worked perfectly. Bernie wrote lyrics, Elton wrote music. No arguments, no ego clashes. Billy wrote everything himself, which meant when something failed, he had no one to blame but himself. In a 2009 interview, Billy admitted he wished he had a Bernie Taupin, someone to share the creative burden with. The jealousy also extended to personal life. Elton seemed to have genuine friendships with other musicians. He collaborated with everyone from John Lennon to Kiki D. Billy was more isolated. He had a reputation for being difficult and moody. In a 2004 interview with The Guardian, Billy said he pushed people away because he was afraid of being hurt or used. He said Elton did not seem to have that fear. Elton opened his heart to people. Billy built walls. There was one moment that Billy said crystallized his jealousy. In 1984, Elton performed at Live Aid in front of millions of people. He played a grand piano and brought the house down. Billy watched on television and felt sick with envy. In a 2015 interview, Billy admitted he thought, "Why is Elton the one at Live Aid and not me?" Billy knew it was petty, knew it was wrong, but the feeling was real and overwhelming. The turning point, when everything changed. In 1992, Billy Joel was going through a difficult time. His marriage to model Christy Brinkley was falling apart. He was drinking heavily. His creativity felt dried up. He had not released an album in 3 years and was questioning whether he even wanted to continue making music. Then his phone rang. It was Elton John. Elton told Billy he was planning a series of concerts called Face to Face. 2 pianos, 2 piano men, just Elton and Billy trading songs and stories. Elton wanted Billy to be his partner. Billy was stunned. In a 2002 interview with CBS Sunday Morning, Billy said his first reaction was to say no. He was too insecure, too jealous, too afraid of being compared to Elton night after night. But something made Billy say yes. Maybe it was desperation. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was the hope that working with Elton would finally put the demons to rest. In a 2013 interview, Billy said agreeing to Face was one of the scariest decisions of his career. He said it felt like walking into the lion's den voluntarily. The first Face concert was in 1994. Billy was terrified. He expected Elton to overshadow him. Expected the audience to love Elton more. Expected to feel like the opening act at his own show. But something unexpected happened. The concert was magic. Billy and Elton had chemistry. They made each other laugh. They challenged each other musically. They brought out the best in each other. The audience loved both of them equally. After that first show, Billy and Elton sat backstage drinking and talking. Billy said in a 2010 interview that conversation changed his life. Elton told Billy that he had always admired him. Elton said Billy was a better lyricist, a better storyteller. Elton said he wished he could write songs like Piano Man or scenes from an Italian restaurant. Billy was shocked. Elton John was jealous of him. Elton explained that he felt insecure too. He said people dismissed his music as too theatrical, too flamboyant, not serious enough. Elton said he envied Billy's credibility, Billy's respect from critics, Billy's authenticity. Elton said the comparisons bothered him too, because he felt like he was always being judged against Billy's standards. That conversation shattered Billy's illusions. Elton was not his rival. Elton was his mirror. Two men dealing with the same insecurities in different ways. Billy said in a 2015 interview that realizing Elton struggled with the same feelings he did was liberating. It meant the competition was all in his head. The only person Billy needed to beat was himself. The friendship that grew from Touring. The Face tour continued for years. 1994, 1995, 1998, 2001, 2002, 2003, 2009, 2010. Each tour deepened the friendship between Billy Joel and Elton John. They spent hundreds of hours together on buses and planes, in dressing rooms and hotels. They talked about music and life and family and fear. Billy said in a 2018 interview that Elton became one of his closest friends. Someone he trusted completely. Billy learned things about Elton that surprised him. Despite the fame and success, Elton was lonely. He struggled with addiction and depression. He made terrible choices in relationships. He spent money recklessly trying to fill a void inside. Billy saw that Elton's life was not the perfect fantasy he had imagined. It was messy and painful just like his own. Elton also saw Billy's struggles, Billy's alcoholism, his failed marriages, his creative blocks, his bitterness toward the music industry. Elton did not judge, he understood. In a 2011 documentary, Elton said Billy was one of the few people who truly understood the burden of fame, the pressure to keep producing hits, the fear of becoming irrelevant, the loneliness of being on a pedestal. The tour also revealed their different strengths. Elton was a better performer, more theatrical, more engaging. Billy was a better musician, more technically skilled on piano, more dynamic in his arrangements. Instead of competing, they complemented each other. Billy said in a 2014 interview that performing with Elton made him a better artist. Elton pushed him to be more entertaining. Billy pushed Elton to be more musically adventurous. One moment during the tour became legendary. During a 2002 concert, Billy and Elton started improvising together. No rehearsal, no plan, just two pianos and two masters feeding off each other's energy. The audience went crazy. Backstage afterward, Billy and Elton hugged. Billy said in a 2016 interview that moment felt like a breakthrough. He was not competing with Elton. He was creating with him. That was the relationship he should have had all along. The respect that took decades to earn. By the 2010, Billy Joel had finally made peace with being compared to Elton John. He realized the comparisons were actually a compliment. Being mentioned in the same breath as Elton meant Billy had achieved something extraordinary. In a 2017 interview with Rolling Stone, Billy said he wished he could go back and tell his younger self to relax, to enjoy the ride, to stop worrying about being number one and just focus on making great music. Billy also came to respect Elton's longevity. Elton never stopped, never retired, never gave up. Even after struggles with addiction and health problems, Elton kept touring and recording. Billy said in a 2019 interview that Elton's work ethic shamed him. Billy had stopped writing new music in the 1990s. He toured playing his old hits but created nothing new. Elton was still writing, still collaborating, still evolving. Billy said he admired that more than he could express. In 2018, Elton announced his final tour called Farewell Yellow Brick Road. Billy attended one of the shows and was moved to tears. In a 2020 interview, Billy said watching Elton perform at that level after 50 years was humbling. Billy said Elton was a true artist who never lost his passion. Billy said he wished he had that same fire. The respect became mutual. In interviews, Elton spoke glowingly about Billy. Elton said Billy was one of the greatest songwriters of their generation. Elton said Billy's melodies were timeless. His lyrics were poetry. Elton said working with Billy on Face to Face was one of the highlights of his career. Elton said Billy made him better. In 2023, Billy Joel started a residency at Madison Square Garden. One night, Elton showed up unannounced and joined Billy on stage. They performed together like old times. The crowd erupted. Backstage, Elton told Billy he was proud of him. Billy later said in an interview that Elton's approval meant more to him than any award or chart position ever could. At 76, Billy Joel finally confirms the truth. Now in 2024, at 76 years old, Billy Joel is reflecting on his career and his relationship with Elton John with total honesty. In recent interviews, Billy has made confessions that he kept hidden for decades. What he reveals is both shocking and deeply human. First, Billy confirms that he was insanely jealous of Elton John for most of his career. In a 2023 interview with the New York Times, Billy said the jealousy consumed him. He said it poisoned his enjoyment of his own success. He said every achievement felt hollow because Elton had achieved it first or better. Billy said that jealousy was his biggest regret. It wasted years of his life. Second, Billy confirms that Elton John was never his rival. Elton was his inspiration. Billy said in a recent podcast that everything he accomplished was partly because of Elton. Elton showed him what was possible. Elton proved that a piano player could be a rock star. Elton set the standard. Billy said he owes Elton more than he ever acknowledged. Third, Billy confirms that Elton John saved him. In a 2024 interview, Billy said the Face to Face tour pulled him out of a dark place. Billy was depressed and lost in the 1990s. Working with Elton reminded him why he loved music, reminded him that he had value, reminded him that he was not alone. Billy said Elton's friendship gave him a reason to keep going. Fourth, Billy confirms what he really thinks about Elton John. He thinks Elton is a genius, a legend, a better performer, a kinder person, a truer artist. Billy said in a recent interview that when people compare him to Elton, he wants to say there is no comparison. Elton is better. Billy said that is not self-deprecation. It is honesty. Elton John is one of the greatest musicians who ever lived. Billy Joel is honored to be mentioned alongside him. Most importantly, Billy confirms that he loves Elton John, not romantically, but deeply, like a brother. Billy said in a 2024 interview that Elton is family, one of the few people who truly knows him. Billy said Elton has seen him at his worst and still loves him. That kind of friendship is rare, precious, irreplaceable. Billy also reveals what he learned from Elton. He learned that insecurity is universal, that even the most successful people have doubts. That comparison is the thief of joy. That collaboration is better than competition. That friendship is worth more than fame. Billy said Elton taught him those lessons not through words but through example. Where Billy Joel is now. Today at 76, Billy Joel continues his residency at Madison Square Garden. He plays once a month to sold-out crowds. He does not write new music, but he plays the classics with passion and joy. He has made peace with his career, with his legacy, with himself. And a big part of that peace comes from his friendship with Elton John. Billy says now that being compared to Elton is an honor. He says if his career is even half as impressive as Elton's, he will die happy. Billy says Elton set the gold standard for piano rock. Billy says he just tried to keep up and somehow succeeded. Billy also says he is grateful. Grateful that Elton reached out in 1992. Grateful for the face-to-face tour. Grateful for the friendship. Billy says without Elton his life would have been lonelier and smaller. Elton expanded Billy's world, made him a better musician and a better person. When asked what he wants people to know about Elton John, Billy always says the same thing. Elton is not just talented, he is generous, kind, loyal, real. Billy says Elton uses his fame to lift others up, to support causes, to spread joy. Billy says that is Elton's true legacy. Not the hit songs, not the sold-out stadiums, but the love he gives to the world. What Billy Joel finally confirms at 76 is a truth that many of us need to hear. Jealousy and insecurity are normal, but they are also destructive. Billy wasted years comparing himself to Elton John, years feeling inadequate, years missing the joy of his own success. Only when he let go of the competition did he find peace. Only when he embraced Elton as a friend instead of a rival did he become whole. Billy says now that the music industry tries to pit artists against each other, tries to create rivalries for headlines and drama, but the real story is always more complicated and more beautiful. Billy and Elton were never enemies. They were two men on similar journeys, two piano players trying to make great music and survive the craziness of fame. They needed each other even when they did not realize it. The lesson Billy wants people to take from his story is this: do not waste your life comparing yourself to others. Do not let jealousy steal your joy. Do not be afraid to befriend your so-called rivals, because often the person you think is your competition is actually your greatest ally. The person you envy is struggling just like you. The person you want to beat might be the person who saves you. At 76, Billy Joel finally confirms what he really thought about Elton John. He thought Elton was his rival, his competition, the person he had to beat, but he was wrong. Elton was his friend, his inspiration, his brother. And realizing that changed everything. That is the truth Billy finally tells, and it is a truth about more than just two piano men. It is a truth about all of us, about how we see success, how we measure worth, how we find peace. Billy and Elton's story is a reminder that we are all in this together, and together is always better than alone.